Hi, this is Nina Amir, Inspiration to Creation coach and best-selling author of the Author Training Manual and How to Blog a Book. Today I want to talk to you about attitude. Successful people have a certain type of attitude. It doesn't really matter whether you want to be a successful author, a successful athlete, a successful artist, a successful business person. It doesn't really matter what your goal is in life, but if you want to succeed at it, you will find that the majority of people in your space, in your industry, in the area that you've chosen to work or to participate, will have a certain attitude. More specifically, their attitude will be broken down into several different characteristics that are common to successful people. For authors, I call this author attitude. But I could actually take the same 4 characteristics and I could apply them to artists or to entrepreneurs or to athletes, to almost anyone. So what are these 4 attributes, these 4 characteristics? So the 4 characteristics of what I call author attitude are willingness, optimism, objectivity, and tenacity. So let's talk about them a little bit. Willingness starts with a willingness to change and to grow. If you aren't willing to change and to grow, to do anything differently, you're going to stay exactly where you are. The current habits you have, the current behaviors you have only helped you achieve the success that you have right now. Nothing else. If you want to achieve a different level of success, you have to change your habits. You have to change your behaviors, your decisions, your beliefs. Then you will achieve a different level of success. So you have to be willing to change. You have to be willing to do something differently. You have to be willing to take on different activities, different tasks, to learn new things. And if you're not willing to do that, if you're not willing to explore, to learn, to evaluate yourself, to evaluate your ideas, and to change your ideas, to change yourself, then the likelihood is you're going to stay exactly where you are. So this is huge, really, especially in the publishing industry, because for authors to succeed today, you can't just write. So you have to be willing to wear a lot of different hats. You have to put on a writer's hat. Yes, we love that. You have to be willing to put on a social media hat and be a social media networker. You have to be willing to be a marketer and promoter. You have to put on that hat, which is a type of business hat. And you have to be a good business person. So you have to wear a business hat as well, because being in publishing is being in the business of publishing, which is the business of producing, distributing, and selling books. So whether you indie publish or you traditionally publish, you have to be a business person. All of this requires willingness, a willingness to do things that may not be things you thought of doing before or that you've wanted to do before, but you have to be willing to do them. Optimism. Optimism, it doesn't matter what you want to call it, whether it's faith, positive thinking, reverse pessimism, positive psychology, or learned optimism. It all comes down to the same thing. And I'm not talking about being a Pollyanna. It has to do with being willing to see everything that happens as taking you one step closer to where you want to go. In this case, it's your goal of successful authorship. So no matter what happens, whether it's that you get a rejection to a query letter, or whether someone at a conference, a book doctor tells you your manuscript needs a lot of work, or whether it's that you're told that you need to hone your craft, that your writing isn't there yet. Whatever it is, that you just see these not as obstacles, but as challenges or opportunities to move you closer to your goal. And there are studies that show that optimists are actually more likely to succeed than pessimists. Optimists will see any kind of challenges that come up as being as an opportunity to create a plan of action for how to move forward. They will seek out help. They will evaluate the feedback they're getting, and they will come up with a plan for how to move forward towards their goal, how to make changes. They're willing to do that. Optimists, on the other hand, get stuck, and they ignore this information, or they assume they can't do anything about it. Optimists also don't take the, a rejection or what we say is constructive criticism. They don't take it personally. They just see that there's something that needs to be done, and they set out to do it. They set out to make the changes necessary in themselves or in their work. But a pessimist, on the other hand, takes a rejection or criticism of their work as something inherently wrong with them or inherently wrong with the work that can't be changed. And so they get stuck and they don't move forward. And that's why optimism is so important. And that's why pessimism will hold you back. So you want to be an optimistic person, or learn how to be an optimistic person. Objectivity. Objectivity is the third characteristic that successful people tend to share. Objectivity allows you to see yourself and your work in a way that isn't so personal. So you're able to take a different perspective than your own, and to then see your work and yourself and how it needs to change and how you need to change to succeed, to get to your goal of successful authorship. For authors and writers, this is enormously important, because what you need to do is to be able to listen to editors, copy editors and developmental editors and line editors, and then you need to listen to agents and their feedback, and you need to listen to acquisitions editors and their feedback, and you need to take that and you need to improve your work. You also need to be able to be objective about yourself and to look at your author platform and decide if it's big enough. Are you doing enough? You have to ask yourself if you are the type of person who can be a successful author. Do you have what it takes? Are you willing to take on these roles, wear all these different hats? Are you willing to be objective about the feedback that you're getting about your work and to make those changes? Or are you not? Is this not who you are? Do you not want to create the kind of work that is up to industry standards? Do you just want to create a book of your heart? And that's okay if that's what you want to do. But to be a successful author, you actually have to be willing to do the work that brings your work and yourself up to the industry, up to what the industry expects. So you have to be objective about evaluating yourself and your work. And what you really need to do is to put yourself in the shoes of an industry professional, of a publishing professional, such as as a literary agent or a acquisitions editor. The acquisitions editor is someone who actually acquires a manuscript, a work, a project for a publishing house. So the literary agent will send a query letter to an acquisitions editor, who will then say, yes, I'd like to see more, and then a manuscript or a book proposal will get sent. So you need to be able to see yourself through their eyes. That's the kind of objectivity you want, no matter how you're going to publish, independently or traditionally, because when you can do that, you can evaluate your work the same way that they would. You can evaluate yourself the same way they would. And that's the kind of objectivity you need to learn how to have. You also need to be able to evaluate your work through the eyes of consumers. They are the ones who will buy your book. And if you want it to sell, if you want it to be read, you have to have the kind of objectivity that can see the big picture of your book and see it through their lens as well. Last, you need to have tenacity. Becoming a published author and becoming a successful published author can be hard work. It is not as easy as people make it sound. If you have heard all the stories about the self-published authors producing ebooks, for instance, and making tons of money and selling tons of books, this is 1 in a million authors. It takes hard work to create good books, marketable books, to craft successful books, and to be a successful author. You have to help them along. You have to do the promotion and the marketing. So you have to have the tenacity. You have to have the determination, the persistence, the perseverance to carry through no matter what happens. Past the rejection letters, past the editor's criticism, past all of it, so that you can create that successful book despite whatever challenges show up. You have to be like the authors you've heard of who had over 100 rejection letters and kept going. You have to be the kind of person who will build platform even if you don't like building platform, even if you don't like speaking and social networking, that you find a way to create a built-in readership for your book. You have to be willing to do it one small step at a time every day, and you have to learn how to love it and to or to get help if you don't love it, and if you aren't willing to do it, to get the help so that you do succeed. And when you put all of these words together, these characteristics together, willingness, optimism, objectivity, and tenacity, you get a word that you may know. It's a word, Woot. You may be familiar with it from Arsenio Hall, who always would go, Woot, 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 right? So it's a term of excitement. So when we get excited on Arsenio Hall's show, we all say, woot, 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 right? So actually, this comes from computer hackers. And the computer hackers originally used the word woot to indicate when they hacked into a computer. But what you have to think about is your computer is here. It's in your head. It's your mind. And it's all about hacking into your mind, because it's your beliefs and your decisions that you make. It's how you think. It's all about your thoughts. That's what's going to govern your results. And so that's where all of this comes from. It's the underlying layer here. So you have to tap into your brain. You have to hack into your brain, into your computer system. And when you can do that, things will change for you and you will become successful. So it went from, the word Woot went from the computer hackers world into the gaming industry, into the world of Dungeons and Dragons, where actually it became a truncated version of the phrase wow loot. So instead of yelling wow loot when they won money, or I don't know that much about the game, even though my daughter played it for many years, but I guess when they would yell wow loot, instead they would yell woot. So if you are a successful author, hopefully you will make money from your books because you will sell many of them. And so the whole idea here, that I outline in my book, the Author Training Manual, is how to craft marketable books, books that will sell, and then you will make money. And then, of course, if you become successful author, you will follow the path of this word Woot, which then went from Dungeons and Dragons, from the gamers, into our common usage as just a phrase that we use when we're excited. So, of course, Arsenio Hall used it, but then we all began to use it as just a word we use when we're excited. And I'm sure that you'll be very excited when you're a successful author, and you will be willing to say woot, 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 or at least to write it somewhere, with an exclamation point. So that's what I hope for you. I hope that you will be able to become a successful author and have a successful author attitude with willingness, optimism, objectivity, and tenacity. And you can train yourself to have these qualities. If you don't have them already, or if you have a little bit of each one, or some of one and none of the other, you can train yourself to be a successful author, to have an author attitude. And that's what I talk about in my book, The Author Training Manual. I talk about how to actually become a successful author and have an author attitude. So that's what I wanted to talk to you today about author attitude. I hope you will go out and work on your willingness, your optimism, your objectivity, and tenacity, and craft some books that sell and become that successful author. That's what I'd really like for you. So until next time, this is Nina Amir, the Inspiration to Creation Coach. Thanks so much for listening.